Greetings and salutations. It's Robert Phoenix, and you need to see me. Here I am, right there. What's happening, everybody? It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We had a massive thunderstorm last night. It was quite spectacular to witness in all of its glory. Yes, indeed, it was. It was good. I'm just trying to grab an image here so I can share it with you guys. Let's see if I can find it. Let's do this. What happened? Let's see. Let's see what we got here. Heard some of you liked the image today for the thumbnail. You know, I went out of my way to find something very Taurus because let me do this. Hold on, because you know we just move on sometimes from day to day, and I don't often take time out just to review the sign that we're currently in. And let me just do this here. Export as sit right there. Good. Yeah, I mean, we just kind of. I mean, sometimes on a Sunday night, I'll talk about it, but you know, quite often I just kind of, you know, go from where we are to where we are with all the alignments. But we're in Taurus season now, and we have been for a few days. And I mean, I think we should probably talk a little bit about that at the onset of the stream today. You know, it's the time of year where you should go outside and really connect with nature. I mean, I'm looking at my backyard now, and my grass is starting to grow back, and you know, I'm seeing the return of life after a backyard that had been literally uprooted a couple months ago when we had to deal with replacing the septic system, not the entire system, but the relocation of the leach field. And so there was, you know, there's a lot going on back here, and it's now just finally starting to return. And it's always kind of awe-inspiring to see nature do that. I mean, it's a very humbling experience because you know, we're dealing with just something very simple and you know, something that we just take for granted. Like, okay, well, you know, there's the grass, it's growing again, but it's been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years, right? Like, however long we've been here, this humble kind of exercise of biological and organic life on this planet cyclically repeats itself. And I think a lot of times we just sort of become, I don't know, I wouldn't say numb to it, but we kind of take it for granted. And so this is one of the things that Taurus season is really good for, is to become conscious of the earth, right? I mean, it is the earth sign. And I have said this before. I think I did a show a long time ago, maybe back in 2020, where I ranked the signs according to me. And I think if the best sign to be born under is actually Taurus. And a lot of people will look at me and go, well, why do you think that? And I'll say, well, because it rules the earth. Yeah, it's like, you know, ruled by Venus, but really I think it's ruled by the earth. If we could take the earth, and maybe it's a kind of heliocentric or geocentric chart, and we have the Earth at the center, then Taurus clearly could be the ruler. And so why wouldn't you want to be born under the sign of the planet that rules that sign? You would get the most benefit out of it. You'd feel likely the most at home, unless, of course, you had Chiron in Taurus. That's a different discussion altogether. But I do think it's probably the best sign to be born under, because it gives you access to this world. Whether it's, sort of like really enjoying food or enjoying textiles or, money, ka-ching. Taurus is a ka-ching sign. The body, there are kind of two Tauran types of bodies, which I've talked about. For women, it tends to be kind of very voluptuous and, very earthy. For men, it can be kind of very Adonis-like. You'll see a lot of this on the rising sign, but you'll also see it in the sun sign. And then you get the other kind of version of Taurus, which is more stocky, kind of, very, kind of farmy, right? Stocky, farmy, kind of thick. Two different types of versions of Taurus. And the trainer I work with is a Taurus. He's got Sun-Jupiter conjunction in Taurus. Guy's all about the body. Right. He's so into his body. He works out 2-3 times a day. You can tell. He's in great shape. Looks like fucking Jack LaLanne. And so all you Taurans out there, happy birthday and congratulations for being born under the sign of this world, because it makes it infinitely more easy to access the highways and the byways and the everyday daily experience of being on this planet, on this realm. The other signs can be more, not to say that there aren't Taurans that are complex. Clearly, if I went through, and I know a lot of Taurans that are complex. Dennis Rodman's a Taurus. Motherfucker's complex. David Byrne is a Taurus. He's complex. Brian Eno's a Taurus. He's complex. My grandmother was a Taurus. She was complex. She was not necessarily the easiest person to be around, but she loved her life. She loved being on Earth. She had her little customs and rituals, and she was okay in her own skin. Let's put it that way. And if you're a Taurus, that's the main goal, is to be okay in your own skin, and in fact even be more than okay, to luxuriate in your own skin. So happy birthday, happy solar return, and congratulations for being born under what I think is the best sign in the zodiac. Here's to you, Taurus. Now, that's not to say that other signs, I feel like dad sometimes. No, my other signs, all the other signs, they're special in their own way. And they are, right? But you take, and this is no slight on Aquarians, but you take Aquarians who are very different. They're a very different bunch. And you know that people think I hate them. I don't. They're very interesting. But they don't always do well here on Earth, right? There's always some kind of a struggle involved with Aquarians, because they want to be a part of something, but yet they want to stand out. And they have, this kind of radical side of them that needs to be expressed. Taurus, radical. For as radical as Dennis Rodman looked, he wasn't very radical. For as scary as Dennis Rodman looked, he wasn't very scary. He was really just kind of a big pussycat, really. Unless he's on the basketball court, it's a little bit different. But I think you get my drift, right? So that's why I put the bison, I believe, on today's thumbnail, because we're in Taurus season, and I wanted to just recognize that and give you just a little summation on the sign. And then, what we should be doing during this season is getting back in touch with our bodies. The ideas we're coming out of a kind of the winter phase, and even with March Aries, sometimes it is not always, straight sunshine. It's not like, Mother Nature's got the watch on. Okay, it's Aries season. It's bright and sunny now. Went out and play. It doesn't always work that way. I was watching a baseball game just briefly from Detroit the other night. People are bundled up watching this baseball game, and here we are. We're just really approaching Taurus season, but this is really where up here in the northern hemisphere, the astrological and the meteorological clock begins to turn. So I encourage all of you to go out and sunbathe naked in your backyard. And there's all kinds of interesting tanning exercises that are available for you in your private parts. I'm only partially kidding. Okay, let's see who's in the house here today. Do a little roll call. See what we got going. See, I did that. I jumped into the weather. And now I get to chat with you. Isn't that interesting? My man Michael was here at 1 a.m. What's going on, brother Mike? Esperanza Vance Tarot. See, digging the thumbnail. Liddy Lou in the middle of a thunderstorm. We had it last night. It was pretty intense. In fact, Peachy was so freaked out, she spent the night on my bed with me. That's how violent and elemental it was. Hammer time. Good day rising. I missed you all yesterday. Robert, you're 100% spot on with releasing energy. Thank you. Only made a little fire instead of burning it all down. Spring cleaning. Look at that. That's why I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm here for you to read the cosmic tea leaves. Good to hear, Hammer Time. Double K, California Contrarian. What's happening? There's Jackie Delario. So Jackie, who's normally in New Jersey, apparently is missing this epic fire, which is threatening a nuclear power plant. Jackie, your timing seems to be spot on. Maybe this is Jackie's alibi. Maybe Jackie is an eco-terrorist. And it's like, well, it has nothing to do with me. I wasn't in New Jersey. I was in Vermont when it was all happening. You can't blame me now, can you? We got you. We got you, Jackie. Misbehaving too. What's happening? Charlie, amazing. Mr. Phoenix is falling in love with my Buffalo Bills. I wouldn't say I'm falling in love with your Bills. I would say that I'm Bills neutral plus. I've always kind of liked the Bills because they've always been the redheaded stepchild of the American Football Conference, not the American Football League, where they did win a few championships under the great Lou Saban with Jack Kemp at quarterback. But I've always felt like if the Bills were playing any AFC team, now I don't give a shit about the Raiders anymore. I used to be kind of a Raider fan growing up. But if the Bills were playing any other AFC team, I'd probably pull for the Bills because I have really no allegiance to any AFC team. So, Charlie, I'll take the Bills as my AFC team just for you. Just for you. And because I don't have any skin in the game with any of these other teams. So, huzzah for the Bills. I hope they get to where they need to go and that they win a Super Bowl before your coach gets fired. Devin Dewar, Double D in the house. There's Janine, Laura E. Sun is out in Vermont. And I am so glad. Hello to everyone. There we go. That's the spirit. Buongiorno. My engine stole a win from the Yanks last night. Hey, we like that. But the Yankees are a team I don't like. Never liked the Yankees. Never liked the Mets either. I'm not a big New York sports fan. Just can't warm up to any of the teams. Let's see. Adidas 99. Evening, saying hi from down under. Cien's up at me. What's happening? From down under, right back at you. Melissa Stanton. I'm bringing Roman 12:2 to people's consciousness today. There you go, Melissa. There she is, the lovely and talented one. Saving Austin, one tooth at a time. Stephanie Hunter. My man, Neil Smith from Wisconsin. Triple J, Josie Jazzy John. Ryan, the introspective woodworker. Yes. Come over 11th house locals. That's right. Tom Jordan in the house. Tom says, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. Thank you, Tom. Big Dave Sullivan, Orlando could use a little bit of your good vibes. Apparently, a pall has settled over the Scream House down there in the Appalachians. So if anybody can send Orlando and the kids some good vibes, if you're good at the prayer thing, say a little prayer for our gal Orlando. An ill wind has settled over the property there. And let's just ask that ill wind to move on, and to clear the spirit for Orlando and the kid. There you go. 15 minutes of flame. That's right. So today, I'll give you a little sneak peek because we're double dipping today. I decided to push the Pope show off. I may have to do a Pope show on Friday. Instead, 15 minutes of flame will be a continuation of today's star of the day, and I'll give you it's in the description. But today's star of the day is Timothy McVeigh, and we are going to go down the Timothy McVeigh rabbit hole. And I have a theory about Timothy McVeigh and how we are in the butterfly effect of Timothy McVeigh in Oklahoma City. I'll share that with you after the show at 15 Minutes of Flame. The link for Rumble is right there in the show description. Thank you, Ryan. Killian Hart Rosie's here. Soul Traveler is also here. Yes, you can buy me a coffee if you like the show, want to support the show. Buy me a cup of coffee. Mark, yes. What's going on, brother Mark? He's in the house. My guy, Salty. Like and subscribe. There you go. Rainbows and Butterflies. We do two in Sydney. The show is a strong base down in Australia, New Zealand. I got to say, shout out to you Aussies and you Kiwis who watch and support the show, because there's quite a few of you. So appreciation and hats off and thank you for getting up or staying up to watch this, because I know there's a pretty significant time difference. Let's see, Susan. We got Claire. Claire and I are having fun in the coaching. Artist here, Mercury Day is soon. Yes, Amy Gill. Here we go. That's a springtime affirmation. Loving the warmer temps here in Indiana. It's Taurus season. Renee R is here. Hi, Renee. The owls were crazy last night. Actually sounded like monkeys. Ooh, that sounds interesting. I love owls. They're fucking cool. They're like one of the coolest species on the planet. Lynette Jardine, Mad Maxine, she's with us. Jill Wong. Good morning. I was watching, but really, thanks, Jill, down in Mexico. Good to see you, Jill. Let's see what else do we have here. Oh, yes, the old readings. Want a reading? I'm your guy. I am your guy. All right, who else do we have here? Diane Evans is with us. The Knight of Cups. Zerlith. Kelly B. What's happening, Kelly B? Lisa Ann White. Hi, Lisa. Here we go. Salty. That thumbnail so synced up. I had a dream last night that a beefalo broke into my Wagyu pasture, and I had to run him off. Man, that would be like some Joseph Campbell shit right there, confronting the beefalo and literally having to run the beefalo off. That's the stuff of legend. Susan, I love sitting on my patio with a cup of coffee, watching the flowers and trees. It's lovely. There you go. That's just, let's fall in love. Let's fall, and let's, at the risk of sounding pagan, let's fall in love with nature. This is the month to do it. This is the time. Fall in love with nature. Take a tree out to lunch today. Joseph Fabry. Hi, Joseph. Moira in NYC. Amy Gill, it's so green, all things bloom. There we go. That's the spirit right there. Right there. Be my best double Taurus, ruling the earth. Don't let that Aquarius rising get in the way. Let's see. Who else we have? JT, love that. Might be because I am a bull, but still. Yeah. Amy Gill says, my ex-husband, a Taurus, and I can see that he taught me so much about earth and nature and things. And my grandmother, a crazy eccentric Taurus, she loved money. She was really into money. Played the stock market. And this, and this is really a Taurus story. This is a Taurus story. She came from shit, like a shit background with nothing. And, family of 1, 2, 3 girls. 3 girls. They're all attractive. Her younger sister, the middle sister, was the knockout. She was, my grandmother was attractive, but her middle sister was the knockout. But my grandmother was the first person in her family to buy a house. And everybody in her family thought she was crazy to spend all that money to buy a house. As a Taurus, she knew. And guess what? Not only did she buy a house, but she upgraded that house and went from this area called Lameda Park in San Bruno to have a little bit of a house on the hill in Millbrae, California, which is a very high dollar zip code. And hats off to Margaret. I don't even think she had a high school education, to be honest with you. She got married at 16. I mean, how do you get a high school education if you're married at 16? I don't think it happens. So Margaret the Taurus. Maya Rose. Maya and I had a nice little chat yesterday. Good connecting with Maya. Yes, Friday Forecast. I think we're going to do something with the Pope this Friday. I need some ramp up time. Barbara Boots is here to check in before she runs her errands. Ms. Lulu, morning. Chiron and Taurus, not so great. Nah, it's a rough Chiron. But once you get it, you get it. Scrubby's in, doing a little name check. Hi, Tamara. Good to see you. Let's see who else we have here. Deborah R. Taurus here, my son too. There you go. Let's see who else we have. Lena Winkler. Desley Logam, Taurus can teach us those beautiful senses. It's true. Absolutely true. Who else do we have here? Anybody else? Oh, we got Steve. My guy, the mayor. Solar return is today, 41. Hey, PB. Happy solar return to you. 41. Oh, the good old days. The good old days. Janice is here a little bit late, but she's here. Hi, Janice. Dead Wolf Resistance 13. Yep, I tried that. I think now I disappear and I ain't coming back. Hey, you said that last time. You said that last time. You're always welcome back. See, we have an open door policy here. It's a revolving door policy. We never have any judgment about who shows up or who leaves. You're always welcome back. It's like a church. But this church is open 24/7, or at least when we're giving the service here at 824. Dead Wolf Resistance, we love you, and wherever you decide to lay your head, we certainly support that. Son of Nick is skiing is lovely. Jan's got that right. Desley Longham. Hi, Desley. Here we go. Look at that. Thank you for your kind words about Taurus. Hey, listen, I only speak the truth. I only speak the truth. And sometimes people don't like to hear that. Let's see. Melissa's got 2 Tauran kids. As an Aquarian mom, I got chosen by 2 Tauruses. Yeah, they'll ground you for sure. And you know what Tauruses are really good at? Getting what they want. They're very good at it. Even if it takes them a little time, they almost always get what they want. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Anybody else? Double Black Tail Taurus signing off of Mother Earth. All right, Mr. Double Taurus. Carpe diem. Let's see. Anybody else? 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 Bill was a client back in the day. Said they lost the Super Bowls because they party too much. That doesn't surprise me. Jim Kelly was a huge party guy. Jim loved to party. I think Bruce Smith liked to party too. He had kind of party animal vibe, didn't he? Let's see. Come on, people. I'm with you. Thank you, Brian. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Yes, subscribe. Sweet Woodruff is here, just working. Okay, I think we're almost all caught up. I got some hanging laundry in. Let's see. Marquez Taurus. Taurus in the house. Let's see. Anybody else? Oh, Julie Sunshine, 333, big cat mama. All right, a lot of love. We got, you know what? We're getting tactile. We're getting tactile over here in chat. Ratchet Boo, Taurus Sun, Scorpio Rising, checking in. Thanks, Robert. No problemo. My chihuahua, mi chihuahua. Chihuahua. Moon Sprout's here. Hi, Moon. On a starship, general order. Every cap city on Earth. Oh, we're Florida. Hey, look at that. My guy. My God. The professor is in the house. What's going on, Longo? Good to see Longo in the mix. Tauruses will put anything in their mouth, laugh out loud. Yeah, but there's one sign. There is one sign that is more orally fixated than Taurus, and that's Cancer. Let's see. Wellesley Wells in Somerset. Someone must have catching the edge of your storm, Robert. Quite the wet since last night. Man, it was good. It was like I stayed up long enough. To watch that storm go down. All right, let's do this. Let's get into the weather. And nice meet and greet, nice chat today. It helped ground me. See, that's the whole thing with this Taurus energy. You gotta get grounded. All right, let's see. Is this the right one? No, that's not the right one. Is this the right one? Sucker blue. It is the right one. All right, here we go. All right. Now I have to go in here and let's see. Present. Share screen, and it probably won't show up because of the quirk that StreamYard has now somehow produced. Here we go, and that should work out for us. Right here. Let me see, we got it. Yep, there it is. Okay, let's get into it. We'll pump it up a little bit here, make it a little bit bigger so you guys can, all you geriatric types. So today the sun is at 3 degrees Taurus. You know, this is considered the most blessed degree of the zodiac. Do you know why? Because it is the 33rd degree of the zodiac. If you start off at 0 Aries and you get to 3 Taurus, you are at the 33rd degree. And it's interesting because this is here. We're going to go to the Sabian symbols. Because Taurus 2, which was yesterday, an electrical storm, it's exactly what we had last night. An electrical storm, the cosmic power able to transform all the implications of natural existence. right? Electrical storms do what? They clear the air. They clear the air. Any of the lingering sort of dark gray spirits that are hanging around, right? It just gets cleared out. Now, the next two symbols, 33 and 34, are pure gold. So Taurus 3, phase 33, natural steps lead to a lawn of clover in bloom. The gradual expansion of the individual consciousness after a fecundating experience. Dean Rudyard loves the word fecundate. I think he uses it at least 5 or 6 times in the symbols. Fecundating is like like if you were to have a compost box and you throw, your coffee grounds and your banana peels and your lawn clippings and all that stuff, what happens when they all come together? They fecundate to create something that has the power to fertilize whatever it touches, theoretically. That's what fecundating means. Having been activated by electrical energy, which was last night, the pure water of the mountain stream is able to fertilize the soil, which covers itself with small blossoms. Clover, however, is normally a symbol of the triad, Trinity, and thus of the often mentioned 3 natures of man. To reach the flowering garden of mind, the consciousness must proceed by steps. Effort is needed. What is reached is a flowering display of the simple, quite humble kind. Yet bees are after it for honey. There is sweetness and energy latent in the blossoms. This is the 3rd stage of the 7th 5-fold sequence of phases. It is a stage which one should seek with diligence and determination, but in humility and faith, to reach natural fulfillment. This is exactly what we've been talking about all morning, right? Or at least for the last 30 minutes. Now, phase 33, or Taurus 4, that's tomorrow. The pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Riches that come from linking the celestial and the earthly nature. So these 2 phases of Taurus, today and tomorrow, they're literally gold. And the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, that may be something that's just absolutely staring you in the face. In fact, since the sun is at 337, technically speaking, with the Sabian symbols, we are reading the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So it can be staring you right in the face, and if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. You will miss it. So just keep your eyes open for that metaphoric or proverbial pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. All right. So we do have that T-square is still happening. The sun at 3 degrees, Taurus, sort of that blissful, peaceful, I'll take my time, bovine energy. But if you're a bull, you can also be a bit of a bull in the china shop. That's kind of the energy today, bull in the china shop. Sun-Mars square, right? We got this Mars and Leo that's really trying to establish itself. This is the long dormant Mars. And it's interesting that we're really starting to move into spring here in the Northern Hemisphere, and Mars moves into Leo. It's like, okay, here we go. Mars is the chariot, and it's bringing the rays. It's bringing the rays of the sun. It's bringing the rays of life. And I feel like I'm going to give you a different interpretation of the square today. I feel like it is a kind of a wake-up call for people that have been dormant, for people that have kind of neglected their bodies over the rainy season or the dark season. Mars and Leo is a wake-up call and it's shaking you loose. Get back into your body, get active, go outside, take in some good UV, right, at the right time of day. Because we all know that Taurus can be a little passive, can be a little bit lazy in a kind of a good way. Right? I'll take my time. The story about the two bulls on the top of the hill, the story that my father told me when I was about 11 years old, that goes along with the birds and the bees story. If you don't know that story, right? I'm not sure I'll tell you. I'm going to try to keep this show G-rated today. I guess I can give you a PG-rated version of it. A father bull and a son bull are on this hill. And the son bull says to the father bull, "Hey, Dad, look at all those cows down there. Let's run down there and beat them all." And the father bull says to the son bull, "Son," no, the son says, "Hey, Dad, let's run down there." Fucked up the story. Let's run down there. Let's run down there and beat them all. I said it right. And the father bull says, "No, son, let's walk down there and beat them all." Right? Okay. The son says, let's beep one of them. I'm sorry, I fucked it up. I fucked up the delivery. You know why? Because I was censoring myself. That's why I had to think too much about censoring myself. Because I didn't want to say, let's fuck one, and then the father says, let's fuck them all. I left that out. And because I left that out, it fucked up the telling of the story. I'm sorry about that. It's a lesson. I'm just trying to get across that that's the nature of Taurus. Let's walk down there and beat them all. Okay, so the Mars and Leo squaring the sun is a wake-up call. Move your body. Get up. Get out. Let's go. Let's go. Been dormant for too long. Right? Get into your body, whatever it is. Right? Exercise. Get in your garden. Whatever that is. Get outside. Move. It's good for you. And yeah, you'll burn off some of that tension too. Sometimes it's just a matter of going for a walk. Who's become a great walker? Tom. Tom has become a great walker. Tom is always moving around the neighborhood and scouting things out. And I take great pleasure in the appearance of my porch. And so I have Tom out there on the scout team, scouting out any other porch in the neighborhood that could out-porch my porch. And so far, my porch reigns supreme. I take great pride in my porch. Anyway, we have the Mars-Pluto opposition. And then tomorrow, Mars moves into direct opposition. Was it tomorrow? Today's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we get into direct opposition with Pluto. That Mars-Pluto opposition is like fixed. Friday, circle that day, Mars-Pluto opposition. We did have the death of the Pope with this Mars-Pluto opposition. And the last person that saw the Pope was none other than J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance happens to be a Leo. And he's an early Leo. So you have to ask yourself, well, J.D. Vance, huh? Interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, the Mars-Pluto opposition. I'm going to give you a different version of this today, okay? Aquarius inherently can have, because it's fixed in its properties, can have conformity as a part of it. Believe it or not, as radical as Aquarius can be, there's actually a very big part of Aquarius that's about conformity. So let's go back to the good old days of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is still around, by the way. And identity politics, and all of the sort of blue hair radical ideology that was socially engineered and being pushed on Americans who are willing to take the bait. And you would think that, and again, I'm not here to denigrate anybody that has a nose ring. I'm not here to do that. You would think that somebody who has a nose ring, somebody who has purple, blue, rainbow colored hair, has multiple tattoos, all those things that look so radical, when they check every box, like, I'm going to support the trans community, I'm going to be a BIPOC ally, I'm going to support men participating in women's sports, I'm going to support the science because the science knows everything that we are supposed to take and put in our bodies. Like, if you just add up all those things, which are a thing, by the way, like, that is a personality profile. That is like the ultimate, even though it's so radical or sounds or feels radical, it's the ultimate version of conformity, right? It is the ultimate, like, bait and switch game, because they get people to think that they're being really radical, but they're not. They're being really conformist. They're just conforming to the, I wouldn't call it the prevailing social standard, but a social standard that's trying to be put into place so people can be much more malleable and programmable and led around by their nose rings. And again, I'm not, if you got a nose ring and you're watching the show, please, I'm trying not to single you out, right? Because if you have a nose ring and watching this show, you're not that. You get a nose ring pass. But you know what I'm saying here, right? This is why I think sometimes Aquarius, even though they think the sign can be very radical, they can be very conformist in their kind of radicalized assemblage. They're, you know what I mean? So when we have Mars and Leo is a very individual sign. You know, Leo's me, I am, right? We have this Mars-Pluto opposition. We're squaring, look, no, we're not squaring off. We're opposing conformity, whatever the conformity is. You know, I was on Twitter yesterday, and, you know, he seems like he's a good dude, but I was reading David Nino Rodriguez's feed, and he's going on and on about Juan O'Savin and how, you know, it's really good that we have real ID now because we're going to have martial law. And when we have martial law, Trump's going to be able to do everything that he's promised to do. And real ID is going to, you know, separate out the wheat from the chaff. And I'm like, he says, what do you think about that? And he says, how do you feel about that? And I replied, sounds a lot like fascism to me. You know, and so you get the conformity even on the other side, like trust the plan. Like, is that not conformity? It's just a different version of conformity. And so Mars and Leo is like, well, hold on a second here. Trust what fucking plan? Like this 5D chess thing that I need a time machine to figure out. I don't know. I'm not so sure about trusting the plan. And I guess even if you're a so-called Democrat or a lefty, Mars and Leo opposing Pluto and Aquarius, are you going to trust their plan? Are you going to trust running Bernie Sanders out there again? You know, as AOC's running mate, which seems to be kind of the storyline or the narrative that they're bandying about. This is Mars Leo territory here. Standing in the face of fixed conformity. That's what we're talking about. And what's interesting is that you can be an individual without having to stand out. What a concept. What a concept. And we have a lot of planets here that are supporting Mars. We got Mercury and Venus, Saturn coming in here by degree. They're all in trine with Mars. So I see this as the expression of authenticity, and really, coming from your heart in a place of courage and standing out against the fucking crowd. Standing out against the crowd. And you don't have to be radical to not conform. Right? You can just be you. And if you're you with the courage of your convictions and the ability to demonstrate your own personal authority, which means, guess what? You have to have a certain level of responsibility in your life. That's the Saturn Mars trine. You do that, you don't have to stand out. You can just be who you are and be okay with Taurus in your own skin. And I think that's really the theme today. We're gonna end the weather on a certain theme. It's be here, be on the planet, connect with nature. It's a beautiful day. We're at the 3rd degree of Taurus, and we're standing off against the Borg, the conformity of the Borg. And you can do it. You can do it easily. Mars trine Neptune, it's creative. Mars trine Mercury, think and act. Mars trine Saturn, be accountable, be responsible. Put your love and heart into action. Get some shit done. All right. Let's get into our star of the day. Our True Hemp Science star of the day. Okay. So as I've already let the cat out of the bag here, for those of you who actually pay attention to the show notes, here's today's True Hemp Science star of the day. It's Tim McVeigh. And I just wanted to give a shout out to True Hemp Science, sponsor of the show. Where's my prop here? Where's my prop? True Hemp Science. This is your one-stop shop for all things CBD. All you got to do is go there, spend $100 more, type in 15MINS, 15MINS, and you will get the goodie bag with your order. The goodie bag will have some things in there you will love. I'm telling you right now. The great thing about Chris and his product and his service, he gets repeat customers. That is the absolute best indicator, the best metric that your product is having an impact. You should get repeat customers. $150 more gets you free shipping. There's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. TrueHempScience.com, 15MINS is your code. Get out there, support a mainstream business, and feel good about your body and your participation in a capitalist society. All right, let's talk Tim McVeigh, one of the more polarizing figures of the 1990s. And I'm going to get into a much more in-depth portrayal of Timothy McVeigh on 15 Minutes of Flame. So some of this I'm going to save for that show. However, we're going to look at some elements here that I think are quite interesting in McVeigh's chart. So he has what we call a seesaw chart, where you have planets on one side of the chart and planets on another side of the chart. Now, usually what happens with people that have such a dramatic seesaw is you don't always get the mystic rectangle of the seesaw, which McVeigh has. But what it can create is a type of schizophrenia. I mean, you could look at the chart and you can see that the individual is literally split in two. In my course, my astrology course, one of the examples I use for the seesaw chart is Whitney Houston. And you can tell, like, Whitney Houston is trying to be kind of all things to people over here and all things to people over here. And what happens to Whitney? She gets literally split in two, torn apart. She can't manage sort of the bicamerality of the chart. Like the strategy behind a seesaw chart is you have to be adept about going between one side of the chart and the other. You literally have to be, you know, of all the charts, to me, this one is a mercurial chart. You know, and Mercury is the messenger of the gods and moves between worlds. That's literally the strategy of a seesaw chart. He's a Gemini rising. We're going to talk about that in a second. So McVeigh, they said he was the perfect soldier because he was programmable. This is a really interesting aspect, and I will get into the programmable aspect when I get into the 15 minutes of flame part of this. But you can see with the true node in Aries, Venus in Aries, Saturn in Aries, it's all very military, right? Tim McVeigh was born to be a soldier. And if you look at his midheaven, he has his midheaven at 0 Pisces. And a lot of times people with 0 Pisces on their midheaven, they don't know where they're going in life. So I've talked about this before. I used to get a lot of readings for people that are late Gemini rising or Cancer rising. And I kept asking myself, why do I keep getting these people? Why do I keep getting people late Gemini, Cancer rising? Is it the rising sign? And all of a sudden I looked at the midheaven and I said, no, it's the midheaven. It's Pisces. They don't know where they're going in life. And then I did this kind of dive into personalities that we know that have either Neptune on the midheaven or Pisces on the midheaven. I want to find out who these people are. What kind of personality can have a successful journey with Pisces or Neptune on the midheaven? Turns out it's artists. And serious artists, playwrights, composers. Two that stand out in memory are Pablo Picasso and Leonard Bernstein. There's more, but that was the takeaway. It's like really, really creative people have Pisces on the midheaven. And I wouldn't necessarily say McVeigh is creative per se, but it also feels a lot like he's very programmable. And where do I see that? It's the moon. It's the Pisces moon. And, you know, with the moon in the 10th house, the moon in the 10th house can be scandalous. If you have the moon in the 10th house, I would bet that there is at least one moment in your life where your shit was exposed to the public, whether it was your small town or your high school or something at work that everybody knew about. That is one of the dangers of the moon in the 10th house. And all of a sudden, it's like, here you go. You're exposed, right? One of my clients, God bless her, a moon in the 10th house. I was talking with her and bringing this up, and I said, "Did this happen to you?" And she said, "Oh yeah, it did. When I was young, my parents owned a drive-in in the town that we lived in, And my boyfriend was going off to war, and we had one little night together before he went off to war, and I got pregnant. She kept the child. And what happened? It was a scandal. It was a scandal. One of the richest guys in town, his daughter, was walking around pregnant, moon in the 10th house. This is what I'm talking about. So for McVeigh, he's kind of got that, right? But also, Pisces tends to be very scapegoaty. And we will get into the scapegoating of Timothy McVeigh. He has his Chiron in Aries, and it's at 1 degree. So we could assume that something happened to Tim McVeigh when he was quite young that led him into the path of the warrior, because that's how he saw himself. He was not a very imaginative person. And Tim McVeigh was under military and psychological observation for years before Oklahoma City happened. He's got Mars in Taurus in the 12th house. Hidden enemies, right? Hidden enemies. Who's the hidden enemy? Is it Tim McVeigh? Or is it somebody in his life who's playing that role? Again, we'll get into this more. You know, he's got this Neptune-Mars opposition. There's a lot more to what happened at the Murrah building that we know or understand. And the Neptune opposition with McVeigh is part of that. You can see Neptune right here. And he has this T-square going on. Right? So McVeigh was involved in things. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like he just showed up and was a patsy. Timothy McVeigh was involved in things. What he was involved with and how he got there, some of the stuff I'll talk about on 15 will blow your mind. Literally blow your mind. The Gemini rising is really interesting. And I'll tell you why. Because, and I'll give you a little bit of a tease for 15 minutes. Before the whole thing happened in Oklahoma City, there were variations of Tim McVeigh spotted all around Oklahoma City. There were people who were acting as doubles, which is quite strange. However, if you go back and you get into the Kennedy assassination, there are very similar stories of various versions of Lee Harvey Oswald kind of circulating around Dallas at the same time. Now, these would not be clones, but these would be people who would look very similar in some ways to Lee Harvey Oswald, and dressed in the same clothing that Lee Harvey Oswald was dressed in. Same thing with Tim McVeigh. And then lastly, what I'll leave you with, because I want to save a lot of this for the show, is the strange circumstances of Timothy McVeigh's death. And there are people to this day who believe that Timothy McVeigh actually survived his death. And that, again, that's very Gemini rising. Right? It's almost like this prestidigitation, this sleight of hand that goes on, with his life and his passing. Now, he was involved, let me just do this quickly. He was involved with what happened in Oklahoma City. But to the extent of what he was involved with, well, we'll get into that. I did the synastry chart of the time of the bombing of Oklahoma City. And so this is right on top of McVeigh's chart, right? Sun, Mercury, Sun, Mars conjunct true node, right there. Moon, Mercury conjunct is Mars. To me, the Moon, Mercury, Mars conjunction, that's the programming. That's the programming going off, right? That's the activation switch. But so he was there, he was doing stuff, but Mr. McVeigh was clearly not alone, and there were forces behind the scenes that were moving the chess pieces around. And one could make a pretty strong case that he was a pawn in the game. Even transiting Saturn over his Chiron, right? He's got that Chiron at 1 degree Aries. And so Saturn here has just moved into Aries, and it's hitting him, right? It's like the authority is triggering the wound, the chirotic wound of Tim McVeigh, suffered at a pre-verbal state in his life. We'll get into this more over on 15. All right. Thanks for being here. Ran a little bit long, but I appreciate you all. Have yourselves a blessed day. Treat each other well. Take good care of yourselves. Get into the Taurus vibe. Dance around your tree. Maybe with another person. Maybe naked. Kind of kidding, not kidding. All right. Treat each other well. Take care of yourselves. God bless. Love you all. Robert Phoenix signing off. Bye for now.